When pockets were first introduced to women's clothing in 1913, a Paris reporter wrote, "It's all over with women's superiority over men." My cultural artifact is my sewing machine, which I've been using to craft and mend clothing for years now. Everyone goes clothes shopping because it's a part of life, but not everyone knows how those clothes are made. I chose this artifact because it's an important part of my life since I've been sewing since I was a child, and it also allows me to express my creativity, save money on clothes, and have clothes that fit me perfectly. Through this artifact, I will be discussing how it is used, how it is important to my values and my culture, and why I identify with this culture. First, let's discuss how the object is used. Sewing machines are all different. There's some that have screens, there's some that have the normal knobs like this, but I'm just going to focus on the basics. Sewing machines work differently than regular hand sewing. Regular hand sewing, you're going down through the fabric and back up again, turning the needle as you go. However, on a sewing machine, you can't turn the needle. So how does this work? There's actually two different threads that are being used at the same time. One is this top thread that goes down through the machine and gets to the needle, and the other is threaded around something called a bobbin that's actually in a compartment inside of the sewing machine. That top thread goes down through the fabric, and then it loops around the bobbin thread and brings it back up through the fabric, creating a stitch. Sewing dates back to as early as 202 BC, but sewing machines were around until the 1800s. They were originally created in the very early 1800s, late 1700s, but they didn't really work out, and the first one was created in 1830. They were passed down through traditions when a mother would learn how to sew and she would teach her daughter, and that daughter would grow up and teach her daughter, and so on and so forth. However, sewing isn't needed as much as it used to be, and a lot more it's used to express creativity now instead of as a necessity for life. Now we can discuss the importance of the traditions of sewing and the culture surrounding it. This represents not only the work that goes into creating something, but also the creativity itself. It was originally a way for people to live, as I said before, especially during the Great Depression, when people would make dresses out of feed bags or blankets out of scraps of fabric. This also was a great way to help for people that had many children that were on the poorer side. They would have hand-me-downs and mend them instead of going out and buying new clothes, and they could make their own clothes from scraps of fabric. Now it's a way for people to make something completely unique to them. It builds self-confidence through skill building and being proud of something that you make. It also helps define motor skills and improves your focus. Learning a skill like this is very difficult and requires a lot of discipline, but the payoff is worth it. Now we can discuss why this is important to my culture. I always grew up creating things. I grew up playing music, making art. I was doing things like weaving and crocheting a lot. And I also watched my family sew. Both my grandmas on both sides of my family know how to sew, and as well as my mother. So I always grew up watching my grandma mend my jeans or mend, dresses to fit me since I was a very small child. My sister and I grew up with Goodwill shopping sprees instead of buying new clothes. But with sewing, we could have clothes that fit us perfectly if they were hand-me-downs or if they were from Goodwill. We could also, with things like patches and embroidery, we could add our own personal touch to it, and it was just as good as buying the brand new thing that everyone wanted. This helped me form a closer bond with my family, and especially my grandma, because she's taught me so much about sewing. In conclusion, you can see why this is such an important artifact in my life. It has helped me express my creativity, as well as helping me save money and get close to my family and friends by making things for them that are completely unique and that they can never buy at the store.